What is up, everybody? So, got another Valkyr video. Been having some fun with her, was playing her on stream last night. Mostly messing around with her heavy attacks. So, with Steel Path, trying to get all the arcanes. I have the merciless ones, still working on the other ones. And Valkyr heavy attacks, which are like so, do a shit ton of damage. Because her claws can attack all the heavy attack mods and they have really high base crit, really high base damage. So I kind of was working on a build centered around that. I've been really liking heavy attack weapons in general since the patch because, the heavy attack mods didn't get touched at all. Whereas the kind of hybrid condition overload build mods did. So, been running a build. Now, it's almost hard to showcase this build because it does a lot of damage. So it's almost hard to get enemies to live to where I can actually use it. So there's kind of like a combo type thing. So this does utilize Breach Surge, which is OP as shit. So the combo, quote unquote, would be, getting your combo counter to 12x. And so I'm actually using some combo efficiency on this build to stay at a high combo counter. I'm running Magus Anomaly to group enemies together, Epitaph to spread status, and then we've got our Breach Surge. And yeah, and then that happens. So I was in Steel Path for a while last night, just messing around with this build. And like I said, it was kind of hard to actually test efficiently because it was just doing so much damage that it was hard to actually get the full combo off. Because if I attack and then I use my claws on enemies at all, even without heavy attacking, they still almost die. So, just do the combo one more time, and then I'll go to so I'm going to get my claws out over here so they don't die. And then, yeah. So I think the highest Breach Surge tick that I got off of that was like 500 million damage without any armor strip on a Grenier in Steel Path who is like a couple hundred levels. So quite a bit of armor, and I got a 500 million Breach Surge tick off that. So I'm just going to go over the build real quick. So this is utilizing a ton of crit chance. So I'm actually running Gladiator Resolve on my frame. You can of course rank this up, but there is really no point. The reason I have Prime Continuity is I wanted Transient Fortitude for a little more strength, but and honestly I just didn't really have anything else to fit in this slot. Stretch for a little more range on Breach Surge. This whole build is like pretty flexible. You could actually even one thing I was messing around with a little bit was running Mecha Pulse here and then Mecha Empowered up here to just like continually spread your status effects and stuff. I've actually been having a ton of fun with the Mecha set. It's really entertaining if anybody hasn't messed around with that. So really the main thing you need here is efficiency. I went for max efficiency for Hysteria because it can get pretty costly once it ramps up all the way. As much strength as you want for both Hysteria scaling and Breach Surge scaling. And then, Prime Flow and Energize for some more energy. I could have probably run like Preparation here or something. Running Arcane Strike, you could run Arcane Fury. It's really flexible. Outside of needing the max efficiency for Hysteria, which you might not even necessarily need that. I'm using heavy attack, so I don't even really need Warcry, so I don't really need to build for duration. One thing I was messing around with was like prolonged paralysis, but I just found Magus Anomaly was way more consistent, so that's kind of how this build started. Um, so a couple other things. So I have an Epitaph Primer build. So here I would run secondary Dexterity just for the increased combo count or combo duration. I don't have that yet. It's like super cheap. I'm just lazy. So multi-shot, which you can put this on here, but I'm not actually killing stuff with this weapon, which is why I went for this. You could put this on here. There's nothing saying you can't. And then same thing with this. You could put galvanized shot, but I'm not killing stuff with this weapon. So just maximum status chance. I could probably put like harness stinger here, whatever. Just getting status effects out there. The Venka, the only reason I'm using a Venka is just because this is like the standard stat stick weapon that I use on some other frames like Ash and Barug. So this is really just to hold your Glad mods. Recently they made a change where you can't put Gladiator mods on your Sentinel, so you have to actually put them on your melee. Sorry, but Valkyr will benefit from them. So that's and since she has really high base crit on her claws, any extra crit is just going to be nuts. I'm running Naramon here. I would actually run Zenuric for the full build, and you can probably run whatever primary you want. It doesn't matter. Just with those dexterity arcanes for the increased combo duration. And then for the claws themselves, so there's two builds that I was messing around with. The first was more of like a classic um, heavy attack build with, this is like the normal heavy attack mods. Then I was messing around with, okay, well, what if I used a primer like Epitaph, because I'm pulling enemies in anyways, that kind of naturally synergizes with Epitaph. I'm pulling enemies in to heavy attack them all and to put on Breach Surge. So if I'm going to have all those status effects anyways, because remember that Breach Surge can apply radiation, my claws are corrosive, my Epitaph has viral and heat, and then there's all the IPS status effects. So this is like a pretty good chunk of extra damage. And it didn't get nerfed that much. I mean, even with two status effects, it's still on par with primed pressure point. So if you have anything more than two, that's just, ramping that up even more. One of the unfortunate things is you can't put amalgam mods on exalted weapons, and you can't put acolyte mods. So you can't put blood rush, you can't put amalgam organ shatter, which is why I'm running sacrificial steel and the glad set. And then I'm running reflex coil. So between reflex coil and the reason that I picked Zenuric is for inner might, which increases your heavy attack efficiency. So you're going to have that 90% heavy attack efficiency on your heavy attacks. Your pet, I was running Death Cube for the energy. You can literally run whatever you want. It doesn't really matter. But yeah, so that's what I've been running with Valkyr. I think so. I'd made a Valkyr in the past with prolonged paralysis, and I still think that build is really fun. This build is just like a little bit of a different approach. Um, Another thing that you can try is um, Fire Blast for the armor strip. But honestly, this build does so much damage, you don't even need the armor strip. And if you wanted to get really crazy, you could use something like a Catabolist primer for your secondary. It would be a little less efficient, but that weapon can put on corrosive, viral, and heat. So you could run something like this. Right, you could run the Catabolist, which can put the three really nice status effects on, and this will decrease armor, make them take more damage, decrease their armor more. Heat here is almost a little redundant, honestly. So this is a potential option. I like the epitaph because it was so easy. You know, you group enemies up, and so let me just show my operator arcanes. So here I'm running anomaly. Anomaly, like I would cannot recommend this more. Like this arcane is like it's amazing. It's like having a free ensnare, a free larva, like all the time. It's like, oh, I want to group enemies together. Just transference. Boom. And you can just spam it, and there's no like lag between the pulls. You can just like spam. I mean, you saw when I was in Steel Path, you can just spam the pulls, and you constantly get, you know, you're pulling enemies in. You can group them up nicely, and the reason I really liked Breach Surge with this build over something like Fire Blast or I tried like Fire Blast for the armor strip, Pillage for the armor strip, stuff like that. The reason I liked Breach Surge was my thought process was Hysteria's heavy attacks do so much damage, but they're in a relatively small area. So if I group enemies up with Anomaly, and then the reason I'm using Breach Surge is really to just kind of extend the effective area of my attack. So I pull enemies in with Anomaly, Hysteria, heavy attack, and then that heavy attack damage basically like propagates out a little bit because of the Breach Surge sparks. And these sparks are what is doing the, you know, hundreds of millions of damage. So one other potential concern with this build is nullifiers. So if you arcane anomaly a nullifier onto yourself as Hysteria Valkyr, that's obviously bad. So in that case, you can run the old, you know, tried and true new core, which has a fast fire rate, so it can blow through the nullifier shields. You could also run something like a gaze secondary kit gun. Um, this can also pop nullifier shields pretty quickly and apply status effects. Unfortunately, I don't really have a lot of melee attack speed with this build, so I can't really pop them with my talons. And Epitaph is very, very bad at popping nullifier bubbles. So yeah, there you go. That's Valkyr running this Hysteria build. I was having a ton of fun with it, so I just wanted to make a quick video about it. Hope you guys try it out. We'll hopefully be coming out with an Ember video, a whole bunch of sister-related content. I was having a lot of mic issues. Those seem to be like somewhat resolved now, so I'm looking forward to making some more videos soon. So thanks everybody. Hope you have a good day.